the most anticipated update of the game's history, the second major continuation of the Door story in over 2 years of development. Hello everyone, today I'm covering the entirety of the mines from start to finish. I see comments all the time asking, how do I beat the nest? How do I beat Damseek? Why won't my dad come back from the store? 2 of the 3 of those questions will be answered today as I attempt to go over every mechanic, every item, every entity, and also leave you with a guide so you can learn how to consistently beat the mines. I hope you enjoy. We'll start with the mines as a whole and the new mechanics it introduces, but then we'll get into the guide segment, which will cover everything in a full mines run from start to finish. I always appreciate you sticking around for longer to watch more of the video, but there are timestamps for your convenience if you want to skip to certain parts of the video. With the introduction of the content update, the mines are now automatically unlocked when you start the game, so you don't technically have to beat the hotel anymore, but I really recommend that you do. The mines introduces a lot of new mechanics that you need to learn and still features old mechanics that the game expects you to already know, so I'd highly suggest playing the hotel and beating it before attempting the mines, that way you're familiar with the base mechanics of the game and are less confused when I get into certain subjects. This video will cover some terminology I use that not everybody might know about, however. The mines can be entered in 2 different ways. The first is when making it to the end of the hotel without modifiers. Note the importance of not having modifiers enabled. While the mines does have modifiers, you cannot enter it from the hotel with modifiers. What will happen is that when you receive the intermission screen to enter the mines, clicking the button to skip the intermission will cause you to be teleported back to the start of the hotel with the same modifiers you had equipped. If you want to enter the mines from the hotel, you can't have any modifiers currently enabled. When entering the mines from the hotel, it will carry through the amount of health you had, the items you had, if you had the Herb of Viridius, and also the amount of coins you had, which can make it beneficial to beat the hotel before starting a mine zone to get something like the Herb of Viridius or other good items like the Crucifix. While it can be beneficial to enter the mines from the hotel, you won't receive a pre-run shop like when you enter directly into the mines, which is the second way of entering the mines. From inside of the lobby, you can change what floor to go to and set it to the mines and enter your elevator. It is through this menu that you can get modifiers into the mines and is the only way to get the pre-run shop when entering the mines. Now that covers the 2 ways of entering the mines, from through the hotel without modifiers or from inside the lobby. Now I'm going to discuss the pre-run shop and every single new item in the mines. That way for the guide segment it's easier to explain why they're important. Starting with the pre-run shop, we have 3 new items to talk about. The first is the bulk light, which costs 250 knobs. The bulk light is basically just a big flashlight and works essentially the exact same as the regular flashlight. It has 120 seconds of power and emits a way brighter beam of light that illuminates the area much more than the typical flashlight. Each battery you use on it restores 30 seconds of charge, and that's pretty much it. The bulk light, when turned on, can sometimes flicker off and require you to channel your inner IT employee and turn it off and on again to fix the issue. Despite it being just a big flashlight, it is one of the most helpful items to have in the game, especially because of the beam being so bright, allowing you to see the entirety of most rooms, which in the mines are a lot more dimly lit than the hotel. It's also extremely helpful for the nest. The second item I'll cover is the strap light, which takes a hard pivot from the bulk light as one of the worst items in the entire game. It basically acts like a regular flashlight, but it's strapped to your character and can stay lit even when switching between other items, which is probably its only upside considering that it has the same beam of light as the flashlight, but sways side to side while you're moving, making it really hard to even see what's going on. It has 120 seconds of charge just like the bulk light and flashlight. It also leaves you very vulnerable to gloom bats, an entity that we'll talk about later, and in addition to that, takes longer to turn on and off compared to the other flashlights. Overall, the upsides aren't really worth the downsides, but if you happen to find one during a run, you might as well take it with you if you have space. The last new pre-run shop item is the bandage pack, and I'd probably consider it the best of the items available. It allows you to store up to 10 bandages inside of it, and when buying it, it automatically supplies you with 5. Interacting with the bandage while holding the pack will add it to the pack, and using your item interact button will throw the bandage out onto the ground. If you want to use the bandage to heal, you have to make sure you unequip the bandage pack from your hand, because if you don't, it'll just keep putting the bandage back into the pack. If you didn't already know, bandages restore 15 health when you consume one, meaning inside of the bandage pack you can have up to 150 stored health. Health is extremely important in this game because without it, you die. And while it might be nice to have a light source while navigating the mines, I consider it much more impactful to have health on standby for when an entity inevitably damages you. It also works really well in multiplayer since you can act as your team's combat medic. Now that covers the pre-run shop items, that being the bulk light, strap light, and bandage pack, and also the regular flashlight. Now for all of the other new items that the mines introduces, starting with the 2 items that are functionally the exact same, the consumable cheese and bread items. You get these from the entity Louis, I'll discuss how he works later, and each one of them restores 45 health instantly. You can hold as many as you want, but each one will take up an entire inventory slot, so technically if your inventory consisted of just bread and cheese, you could have 270 health on standby, which is more than the bandage pack, but the bandage pack takes up only 1 inventory slot as opposed to all 6, and can be replenished easily. Despite being really simple, these items are still pretty helpful since health in general is helpful. Because they're consumables though, they'll disappear once you use them and are only one-use items. The next item I'm going to talk about is completely useless. The laser pointer can spawn randomly on tables and inside of containers just like almost every item can. When you pick it up and turn it on, it creates a laser that you can point at things. That's it. It does literally nothing else. Figure gets mad at it, I guess. I mean, this thing is basically completely useless. It has the longest active usage time of any item in the game, being able to be turned on for 200 entire seconds. Anyway, I'm going to talk about literally anything else now. Glow sticks are probably the most convenient item in the game because when coding the mines, I have to assume Elsplash absolutely cranked the spawn rate of these things into the roof because you find glow sticks basically everywhere in the mines. They spawn on tables and in lockers, toolboxes, and drawers all throughout the mines. Now, the reason why this item spawns everywhere is because of its relatively simple usage. When picking up a glow stick and holding it in your hand, using your item interact key will cause your character to crack the glow stick and throw it in the direction you're looking. The glow stick will land on the ground and be glowing a random color between these 10 colors: red, orange, yellow, lime, green, teal, blue, purple, pink, and white. The glow stick will emit light and is technically infinite. The light will never go out unless a gloombat attacks it and puts it out. These glow sticks are really nice as a temporary light source and they're very replenishable. You can hold 10 at a time and pretty easily find more of them so you don't run out. They can also be used to distract figure, have you not get ripped apart by gloombats, and, best of all, they can be used to abuse giggles. Sorry about that. Glow sticks are a very helpful item for the mines, and I'd recommend picking them up whenever you find them and use them to light up rooms easier when you come across a dark room to make your life a little easier. The battery pack also works functionally similarly to the bandage pack. When you find one, you can pick it up and use it to store up to 4 batteries, which can replenish the entirety of the bulk light, 2 batteries can replenish the normal flashlight, and the laser pointer and strap light can be replenished fully with 1. And that's basically the battery pack, a simple utility item to help you maintain the charge on your electric items. The green soda. I'm not saying that every time. The green soda is an item that can only be obtained by trading with Louie and can't be found on tables or anywhere else inside the mines. What a green soda does is when you drink it, you'll begin to regenerate 100 health over the course of the next 33.5 seconds. You'll also receive a 30-second speed boost and your screen will turn green. Now it's time for me to say a bunch of item names and numbers for how you get the green soda. The only guaranteed way to get it is by trading the barrel of Starlight with Louie or by crucifying him. From there, the chances of getting it from Louie trading certain items are as follows. There's a 58.33% chance for it to be dropped from giving him the Moonlight Float or the Bottle of Starlight, a 38.54% chance to get it from trading the Shears, Skeleton Key, or the Bulk Light, and finally, a 25% chance to get it from the Vial of Starlight, Shake Light, Laser Pointer, Smoothies, and the Alarm Clock. Any item I didn't mention, like glow sticks or lighters, can never get you the green soda when trading with Louie. The green soda is a pretty decent item, but like the bread and cheese, it is a consumable so it can only be used once, but it still gives a good healing effect and has saved me once or twice before. The only downside is that the healing effect isn't instant, so you could still be in danger as you're in the process of healing. The last new item I need to talk about is the Shears, which introduces an entire new mechanic with it as well. The Shears have 5 total usages and can be used to unlock shortcuts, new areas entirely, or to open up chests that provide you with items. There's a guaranteed pair of shears that spawn in the hotel's courtyard, and within the mines you can find lush rooms that contain shears and subrooms that contain shears indicated by blades of grass coming out from under the door. These subrooms also usually contain vine chests to use the shears on, but sometimes these rooms will only contain vine chests and no shears, or vice versa. These subrooms can also contain neither of these from time to time, or even contain a generator inside. When opening a vine chest with shears, you are extremely likely to find a bulk light in your very first chest, assuming you haven't found one before this point. This can be super convenient to basically guarantee this item, and the more vine chests you open, the more items and gold you'll find. This is by far the most consistent way to also get the crucifix spot in the mines. We'll get more into how the shears can be helpful in areas like the nest, but this will wrap up what new items the mines introduces. Another one of the new mechanics the mines introduces is room hazards. There are 2 of these room hazards that can be found in the mines, being fire damp rooms and water rooms. Fire damp rooms are rooms containing a highly flammable gas known as fire damp. These rooms can spawn randomly throughout the mines and have a warning sign on the front of the door indicating that the next room is a fire damp room. Inside of fire damp rooms, you slowly lose oxygen and begin to black out, and if you use any flammable item when inside of the room, you'll explode and instantly die. These flammable items currently consist of lighting the lighter and candle while inside of this room. Currently, I believe the candle is bugged and can be used while inside of fire damp rooms, but this will probably be fixed within the next update. The moonlight candle can also be used in fire damp rooms, but I'm assuming this is a feature since the flame is technically powered by guiding light and isn't a real flame. You can last up to 54 seconds inside of a fire damp room before you fully suffocate and die, so typically you have more time than you think, but it's still best to be cautious when inside of one of these rooms since you will die instantly when you suffocate. Your oxygen meter will continue to deplete when inside one of these rooms, and when being in a non-fire damp room, your oxygen will slowly progress back up to 100%. So if you ever need to re-enter a fire damp room for an item or a vine chest and want to give yourself the most time inside of the room before you black out, you should wait outside to refill your oxygen meter before heading back inside. This will also be important for the other mines room hazard, which takes the form of flooded rooms. When underwater, your oxygen meter also begins to deplete until you black out and die, just like in fire damp rooms. Some rooms will require you to wade through water, which doesn't affect the player in any way, but there is one room type where you have to swim through a series of tunnels which force you to go underwater. Water rooms also give you a status effect when you're affected by them. This status effect is simply called wet, and the icon for it is these two droplets of water. This effect is given to you when you're waist deep in water, so those wading water rooms do still technically have an effect on you if the water is high enough. When you are affected by this, you move slightly slower and it causes your flashlight to no longer work. Your lighter also won't work and its durability will slowly begin to drain while affected by this. It also causes other light sources like the bulk light to flicker out more often and function worse. You can survive around 21 seconds underwater before your oxygen meter is fully depleted and you die, so I recommend doing a better job at managing your oxygen. Inside of these tunnel rooms, there are also areas where you can uncrouch and stand above the waterline to refill your oxygen before progressing further to make it through the room. These tunnel rooms are randomly generated, and there can often be small intersection tiles that will have a few routes to go down. Only one will lead to the next door, but there can be routes that are caved in and blocked off or lead to other sections of the tunnel system. Replacing the usual key rooms inside of the hotel, the mines introduces generator rooms which require you to find 1 to 3 fuses to power a generator to open the gate inside the room to escape. In most rooms, you are required to find 2 fuses for the generator. Only one room type in the mines requires you to find 1 fuse, and only one room type requires you to find all 3. The other specific example is that door 200 will have a generator inside of it that already has all 3 fuses inside of it that you can access once you drain Damseek. Lockpicks can also be used as a replacement fuse to power generators. The fuses for these generators spawn in containers and inside of adjacent subrooms and can be found by the same shimmering that exists in the hotel and by guiding light appearing after a few minutes. Another new mines mechanic are the Minecart puzzle rooms. There are multiple of these that can be found throughout the mines, with the first always spawning on door 101. These rooms require you to push a minecart into a wooden barrier to access new areas of the room to either find the next door or to find fuses to power a generator to escape the room. The minecarts themselves are pretty simple, and when pushing your interact key, they'll move in the direction you were facing when you pushed it. The more you push a minecart along a track segment, the further it will go, and they are also affected by slopes and gravity and will pick up speed while moving. When they gain enough speed, they can be used to smash through wooden barriers and your friends' skulls. When players are hit with minecarts, they will be damaged and can even be killed by them and get flamed by guiding light, telling you that maybe you shouldn't stand in front of heavy moving objects. The only other mechanic with the minecarts is track switches, which can appear next to splits in the track and can be used to send the minecarts in different directions. A lot of minecart rooms will have tracks that lead to a drop-off, and if the minecart goes down them, it'll derail and come off the track, but then respawn and come back. Optional minecart puzzles can also rarely spawn in subrooms, where by completing the puzzle, you're rewarded with access to a room that has toolboxes and boosted loot inside of it, and locked chests that also contain good loot. The mines have significantly more places for items to spawn compared to the hotel, having multiple different forms of containers. The mines contains the usual drawers and tables, but also introduces toolboxes and lockers which can spawn multiple items inside of them. There's also a chance for locked lockers and toolboxes to spawn. You can use your lockpicks to open the locked lockers, which isn't confusing at all, and inside of these locked lockers will be a boosted loot pool. This also applies to toolboxes. The skeleton key has no usage currently in the mines other than as a lockpick that can be used on lockers, toolboxes, and chests. Make sure to take advantage of how many items you can find in all of these containers, since it'll greatly improve your mines runs. The mines also have new hiding spots used to survive entities like rush and ambush. Lockers replace the hotel closets, but there are also new hiding spots like dumpsters which spawn past door 150, and these wall grates that can spawn throughout the mines. The dumpster is the only new hiding spot that holds any importance, since it works as a 2-player hiding spot, so you can use it with friends and don't need to have 2 separate hiding places. The wall grate spot doesn't show up in many rooms, but works essentially the same as the regular lockers. The mines introduces a few new entities, but first let's cover the cast of returning entities from the hotel. The returning entities from the hotel consist of Rush, Ambush, Screech, Dupe, Eyes, Halt, Hide, Dread, Timothy, Void, Figure, and Seek. Now, I want to quickly focus on these 4 because they've received changes from Floor 1 into Floor 2. Rush has received 2 changes, with the first being that he can now appear from in front of the player instead of always appearing from behind them. When Rush appears ahead of the player, he will spawn in the next room and will be momentarily stationary before rushing through, which can be sort of misleading because you can hear Rush's audio cue the entire time, so he sounds super close to you, which can make it hard to know when to hide. What I recommend is if you notice Rush has spawned ahead of you once you open the next door, it can often be a good idea to stay in the room you're in and hide in there, to give yourself some reaction time before Rush reaches you. If you can't do this, however, try to time your hiding as best as you can. The second change Rush receives is his cue for when he arrives. He still flickers the lights, but he now causes an earthquake to occur, which shakes the surrounding environment and causes dust and debris to come down from the ceiling. This also occurs when ambush spawns and gives you a helpful sign for knowing that you need to hide. These can rarely occur ambiently and be fake outs, so make sure an entity isn't coming before leaving a safe location. Eyes have now been given the ability to teleport around the room about every 20 to 30 seconds. While Eyes is mid-teleport, he can't harm you, but this teleport animation lasts very briefly, so be careful not to take damage. This teleport can provide its upsides and downsides since he could appear right in front of you or even into a previous room, which can be beneficial for you. Screech can normally only spawn in dark rooms, but in the mines, he can now appear in every room except for the Seek Chases and the Dam on door 200. The last entity that has received changes, and what I would consider to be the most drastic of them all, is Hide. What Hide will now do is reside in the last spot you were inside of, forcing you to find a new spot to hide in. Whenever you leave a hiding spot in the mines, you'll notice Hide inside, indicated by his physical model and these whispers that play when you're close enough to him. If you attempt to enter a spot Hide is inside, you'll be dealt 40 damage and will be unable to hide in any hiding spot for around 10 to 20 seconds. Doing this will dispel Hide from the spot he was inside, and after the cooldown for you being unable to hide, you can then re-enter the spot safely. The only other way Hide will leave a spot is if you exit a different hiding spot, to which he will then teleport into that spot. Hide can only inhabit one hiding spot at any given time. Hide is a client-sided entity, meaning that for each player in the game, Hide exists differently. If I have a friend who just got out of a hiding spot and Hide is in there for them, I can get in and be completely safe. Now, if Hide was server-sided, it would mean that when my friend exited the spot and I tried to enter it, I would be blocked by Hide and damaged. Now, because of Hide's new functionality, it makes encounters with ambush incredibly difficult because you now need to switch hiding spots before ambush rebounds. In the hotel and the mines, you can only stay inside of a hiding spot for a certain amount of time before Hide pushes you out of that spot, and you most likely die to ambush in that case. This is why when ambush appears, you must get in and out of hiding spots in order to survive Hide pushing you out into him. In the hotel, you could stay at the same spot and hop in and out when ambush is away, and get back in when he comes back. But in the mines, you'll need to switch hiding spots to survive ambush, meaning that at minimum you need 2 different spots for when ambush appears. Do note that you cannot hide in either side of the dumpster counts as one hiding spot. This can be extremely difficult and annoying to need to run between spots or to switch to them to not die, and it can be even more prevalent of an issue in dark rooms where you might not be able to see where the hiding spots are. Unlike the hotel, Hide can only be crucified in his physical form by entering a hiding spot he's inside of while holding out the crucifix, which will force him out of the spot and have you enter the spot. After crucifying him, Hide now won't appear for a while and you can hop in and out of spots without him spawning. The new entities that the mines introduces are these 4: Giggles, Gloombats, Grumbles, and Louie. I'm going to talk about Grumbles later when I get into the nest during the guide, but I'll talk about the other 3 now. Giggles will cling to the ceiling inside of rooms, and when you walk underneath them, they'll fall down onto your face and begin dealing damage. You'll automatically be dealt 10 damage when a Giggle lands on your face, and 7 more damage for every single time the Giggle bites you, which happens 3 times. In solo, Giggles will always deal 31 damage to you, but in multiplayer, another player can knock the Giggle off your face, which will reduce the amount of damage you take. Whenever a Giggle is thrown off the player's face, it'll go ragdoll and be laughing on the ground before fading away and despawning. This laughter will attract figure. When a Giggle is on your face, you cannot interact with any environmental objects. This means that if Rush is coming and a Giggle lands on your face, it's very easy for you to be able to be killed by it. So make sure you watch out for Giggles in these specific scenarios. Again, our friend can remove the Giggle from your face, which will cause the stun to end earlier and allow you to hide sooner. When being inside of a room with a Giggle, you can hear an audio cue of the Giggle laughing. This audio is directional, so you can use it to locate the Giggle inside of the room if you have headphones. Like I mentioned earlier, the mines has a lot of dark and dimly lit rooms, which can make it hard to see Giggles clung to the ceiling. Giggles can simply be avoided by not going under them and can be stunned by glow sticks and blinded by the flashlight, bulk light, laser pointer, and the shake light. When they're blinded, you'll hear an audio cue of the Giggle where it'll yell, and you'll visibly see it cover its eyes with one of its tentacles. During this period of time where the Giggle is stunned, you can walk under them safely until their stun ends, which is indicated by removing its tentacle from its eyes and back to its normal position on the ceiling. Giggles are fatal and can kill you. Giggles can be crucified when walking under them while holding out the crucifix and will fall into the crucifix, which will activate it. Gloombats will spawn randomly throughout the mines in large swarms and will fly around the room breaking lights as they pass by. Gloombats hate light and try to attack it, so you can't have any active light sources in your hands when near them. Gloombats attack individually and deal you 10 to 14 damage per hit, and many of them can hit you in quick succession, which can drain your health extremely fast. You'll know Gloombats have spawned from hearing this sound effect before opening the next door. Do note that this ambient sound effect can play without having Gloombats spawn, but if you hear this noise, expect that they've spawned. Gloombats also possess the ability to open the door ahead of you and burst through it, which could trigger a rush or ambush spawn. Gloombats can despawn in two ways. The first is from going through enough doors that the Gloombats get caught up by Void and despawn, and the second is that when Gloombats simply exist for long enough, they just say, "Guess I'll despawn," and just disappear abruptly, which you can usually tell by their buzzing stopping. Speaking of which, did I mention how loud these things are? Like these things are louder than A90. How is that even possible? This can also affect gameplay pretty drastically as well, since it makes it extremely difficult to hear other entities like rush and ambush, which Gloombats spawn alongside pretty frequently. Gloombats can also fly through walls, and even when leaving the room they spawned in, they still exist ambiently, which basically limits your light source usage for the next 4 to 5 doors, since they'll follow you if you're in another room with an active light source. The best counter to this is by using glow sticks. The Gloombats can attack the glow sticks and put them out, but they still provide you with a small instance of light, and Gloombats won't attack you for using them. The only other method I'd recommend is using the booklight as if it's a flash beacon and briefly turning it on to see what the interior of a room looks like before turning it off to not get attacked. If you are attacked by a Gloombat, turn off all your light sources immediately to prevent more from attacking you. Gloombats can be crucified if holding out the crucifix when one attacks you, and this will put all the Gloombats from that swarm into the middle before pulling them down into the ground and banishing them, making it pretty easy to dispose of them with the crucifix. This is done easier with the straplight, since you can switch the item in your hand and keep the straplight on, and then the Gloombats will automatically attack it and you can crucify them easier. Be careful using the straplight around Gloombats, since it takes about 47 years to turn on and off, and you can't unequip it to turn the light off since it will stay on even when not holding it. The only other part to Gloombats I need to mention is their eggs. When entering the room that the Gloombats spawned from, you'll see these eggs scattered across the floor. These eggs contain Gloombats inside of them, and stepping on them will deal you 5 damage, cause all eggs within a certain radius to break open and emit a glow, and spawn more Gloombats into the room. These eggs are non-fatal, however, meaning that they can't kill you whatsoever even if you have less than 5 health. There are also smaller piles of eggs that won't break at all and can be stepped on safely. They also light the room up similar to how a glow stick would, so if you're using the last breath modifier, it can be a good idea to intentionally step on them to be able to see the room better. This trade-off does come with a cost, however, seeing as this will spawn more Gloombats into the environment. Louis is a passive entity that spawns throughout the mines, indicated by this small hole protruding from the wall. By dropping any item in front of the hole, Louis will emerge and take it and then give you a different item, allowing you to trade with him up to 2 times. You also can't trade items back to Louis, so whatever item he gave you can't be turned back in for a different item. Now, Louis has a lot of statistics for what he gives you and why, and I covered some of this briefly for specifically how to get the green soda, but it's slightly complex to get fully into. So for the ease of explaining things, I'm going to pull up a table showing how you get all of these different items. The best tip I can recommend if you find him is to give him glow sticks or a lighter and get 2 of the bread or cheese items. They're the most convenient items of his to get and are pretty solid items to have with you since they restore large amounts of health. Also note that crucifying Louis will cause all of his available items to spill out in front of his hole on the wall. And that covers almost all of the new mechanics and entities that the Mines has to offer. For the guide segment, I'll cover any mechanics I haven't covered so far and walk you through what a full Mines run looks like. The Mines begins right where we left off in the hotel, crashing down inside of the freight elevator that the figure destroyed. Like I already mentioned, there's 2 ways that we enter the Mines, directly from the lobby or from completing a hotel run without modifiers enabled. Once the elevator reaches rock bottom, we start a run in the first room, which will always contain a generator inside of it. This room acts as the tutorial room from the hotel, but specific to the Mines since we must find fuses to leave the room and not unlock the door using the key. I'll be referring to this room as room 100.5 since we're still technically on door 100, but at the same time we've also escaped door 100. This room is completely safe from everything except for Timothy technically, and it's impossible to die in, and even if you do, you'll be respawned. This room can contain the rift inside of it and is a very important room to scavenge in before the start of your run. Glow sticks and lighters will spawn in here, so it can be very beneficial to start stockpiling these items early. After leaving door 100.5, you'll enter door 101, which is the second tutorial room that is guaranteed to spawn. This room teaches you the mechanics of how minecarts work, but unlike the previous room, you have now entered a hostile environment for the rest of the run. Now you can be attacked and killed by anything from this point forward, but most notably Screech and Hyde, who can already show up. After diverting the minecart to the right track and smashing through the wooden barrier, you can continue through to the next door. From here until the 110s, you won't really encounter anything aside from a few possible Screech and Giggle attacks, and even a couple eyes. After making it into the 110s, you'll randomly find a room with 2 bridges and a large chasm in the middle. The figure will drop out of a pipe into the chasm, and all you need to do is make it across the bridges to the other side of the room to open the door. The figure can reach the player or kill them, and is the only instance in the game where the figure is completely passive. Now that you've passed this room, Rush will be more likely to spawn, again indicated by the earthquake he causes and the lights flickering. Use your skills from the hotel to avoid him and hide when you hear his audio getting closer. From here until the 120s, continue as normal. Watch for entities like Screech, Giggle, Eyes, Gloombats, and of course, Rush. If you hear that ambient audio cue for Gloombats, expect to have to deal with them, but basically play as normal. Also keep in mind that dupe spawns extremely frequently in the mines, so you really need to keep track of your door number. The mines also doesn't have dupe checking. What dupe checking is that when in the hotel, you can put your head inside of walls next to a door to check if dupe is inside, because dupe has a physical room that you can see through the wall. This doesn't work when in the mines because you can't get your head into the wall adjacent to the door to check for dupe. This means you really need to make sure you know what door is correct to avoid taking damage to dupe as much as possible. One strategy to counteract this is by listening for audio behind each of the doors, and I don't just mean dupe's growling audio, but also other audio like running water or ambience, since it's only the correct door that will have these sounds emanating from it. Once entering the 120s, in the next few rooms you'll encounter the first hostile figure encounter. In this room you'll find the figure behind this fence, and you must make it all the way through the correct door to leave. This encounter is fairly simple, and you just need to avoid figure while finding the next door, which can spawn on the opposite side of the room. Dupe can spawn in this room, however, as one of these 2 doors, which can make this room more difficult since if attacked by dupe, figure will hear you and make his way over to you, and when dupe attacks you, he locks you in an animation for a few seconds, making it harder to escape the figure. Again, this is another reason to remember the door number so that you don't die in this room. When in this room, hide if you need to and try to hug the edges of the room since figure is more likely not to path over this way. You can also use your glow sticks to distract him, but be careful as this can make him become enraged and run around. Any subrooms are also safe as long as you don't make any noise while inside of them. They can also be an optimal place to throw your glow sticks because if figure hears it, he'll go into the subroom and do this special animation where he crouches under the doorway, which will distract him for longer since he has to do this animation twice. You can even loop him around the middle of the room and stay safe. After exiting this room, there isn't anything of note that happens from here until door 142, but there is a chance for Halt to spawn, who has a different encounter than in the hotel, so I'll cover that now. When entering a room, there is a random chance for it to be Halt's room, which is a series of bridgeways that connect you to the next room. There are 3 sets of bridges across, and only one will lead you to the next set of bridges, of which there are also 3 total. These bridges will also have different generations that tell you which way to go to successfully navigate across them. Sometimes they'll have this falling rock sign in front of them, and if they do, it means that that path is not the correct bridge. Most of the time, the first set of bridges will always have this sign in front of 2 of them, indicating that the one bridge without the signs will be the correct path. It can sometimes be hard to see which path is correct because of the static in Halt's encounter, and the light that Halt gives off that rotates around him. Take advantage of this to see which path is correct. If you do happen to go the wrong way, you'll know pretty much immediately since the bridge will be collapsed in the middle with lockers and other junk barricading the way through. Since you're being chased by Halt this entire time, you can turn around when you need to and book it over to the correct path. I will include some visual examples of this in a minute to help explain exactly what's going on and how a flawless Halt encounter looks, and how one that didn't go as flawlessly can still be recovered. Now, what happens if you come out to one of these bridges and there aren't any signs indicating where not to go? Well, there's a very simple solution to this. When coming up to one of these bridges, check to see the layout of the furniture. If the furniture is hugging the right side against the railing, it's the correct path. Usually this can be seen best with there being a table in this spot as seen here. Any other furniture variations, if the furniture is on the left side, is incorrect. Only the right side will provide the correct path. Again, use Halt's light to determine which side the furniture is on to be able to path efficiently. Now I'll show you what a full Halt encounter looks like in the mines. The first one will be an attempt where I went the right way every time, and the second will have some mess ups in it so you can see exactly how Halt works without me having to continue to explain it. Now that we're finished with Halt, the run will be pretty normal up until door 142. You'll see more consistent rush spawns, more entity spawns overall, and more fire damp rooms, but these shouldn't really pose a threat to you if you know what you're doing. The only thing I have left to cover in this section is a term known as in plain sighting. What in plain sighting means is hiding from an entity outside of a hiding spot like a locker. The name comes from the achievement in plain sight, which you unlock by doing what I just mentioned, hiding from an entity out of sight. As I'm sure you've noticed by now, the Mines has a lot of subrooms inside of it, and it's important to know how these can be important during your run. Inside many of these rooms, there are objects that can obstruct you being seen by entities and allow you to quickly hide in them when an entity is on the way. These spots are very helpful if you need to hide quickly and are too far from an actual hiding spot or can't find one, and I highly recommend getting to know some of these spots since they can make or break a run. Seeing as you aren't inside of an actual hiding spot, hide also won't show up, so you don't need to worry about getting in and out of your hiding spot, which could get you killed by ambush or even rush if you had gotten in too early. I've even done a full run of the mines without hiding, which is some of the background footage you can see on screen. While it can take some time to figure out what exactly constitutes an in plain sight spot, I'd recommend running through this list when finding a spot to see if it's most likely safe. Number 1. Where's the next door? Node entities always pass to the next correct door, so you can't in plain sight one if you're in the path of the next door. This room in the hotel is a very common in plain sight spot, but doesn't work in the same way if the room is generated differently. 2. Are you hidden from the entity's line of sight? Rush and Ambush use a system called raycasting to see the player and essentially have a line of sight that they use to kill you, so you need to make sure that you're hidden behind a wall or object. Usually you also want to face the wall when in small corners, since when an entity passes by, it won't be able to see you normally, but it can be able to see you if you have your head poking out. 3. Is the entity Rush or Ambush? Rush and Ambush have different raycasting, with Ambushes reaching further. Each of them have a set distance that they can see in all directions, and Ambush's raycasting reaches further than Rush, so some spots that work for Rush might not work for Ambush. And finally, 4. Take note of if the entity passes through walls while traversing into the next room. This is more notable in the hotel with its room designs, but it can cross over into the mines as well. When reaching door 142, you'll come across a large ravine with pipes crossing over above you. If you noticed it in the few rooms beforehand, there were Seek's eyes on the walls, indicating Seek's arrival, which occurs in this room. When reaching the end of the ravine right before the next door, you'll enter a cutscene where Seek's slime will drain out of the pipe and his limbs will begin falling into the water below. The water will turn black and he'll rise out of it before running at you, beginning the first mine Seek chase. Immediately you're introduced to a new mechanic, jumping. Throughout the first few rooms of the Seek chase, you'll find these chasms with bridges that you need to jump across in order to not die and keep progressing. The timing for these jumps can feel really clunky at first, but eventually you'll get used to it. To ensure your jump isn't too short and you fall, jump at the very end of the ledge before you would run off of it and fall off. You need to get used to feeling like you're jumping sort of late, since it will feel like that, but you'll be fine. This is another example that is difficult to explain by just talking about it, so I want to show you examples of what good jumps look like. It can help to look down to time your jumps, but once you get the hang of it, you'll be set. Aside from just jumping across these gaps, you also need to navigate and follow guiding lights to see what the correct path is. This is pretty simple to do since guiding lights' visual effects were updated in the content update to look more clear on where to go. There are also falling boulders in this section that can't kill you or deal any damage, but they can block your path and you'll need to navigate around them. From door 143 until 146, you'll need to navigate across these bridges. Once you reach door 146, guiding light will have seemingly disappeared. When you reach the start of the next bridge, a cutscene will start playing. As the cutscene plays, your character will jump across the bridge and land on the edge and try to climb up. They'll begin to lose their grip and the board they're clinging onto will break and send them falling down the gap into a minecart, which will begin the next part of the Seek chase. You'll enter a minecart and Seek will continue chasing you, and you now need to make it all the way to door 149 to escape. Right after you fall, the game introduces you to the most terrifying entity in the game, wooden boards, otherwise known as Seek. Yep, that's right, this is canonically Seek. Even one of the devs helped confirm this, so thanks Redibles. I also might have broken L-Splash in the process. Now, there is reason to believe that this might not be Seek, but I'd say there's room for debate. This is just another element of the Seek chase that is specific to this chase. Occasionally you'll find these boards suspended over the track and you'll need to crouch under them to avoid what it feels like to chew 5 gum. If you don't crouch in time, your character will take damage and become concussed briefly, which will blur your screen and obscure your vision. Once you open door 147, you'll begin seeing multiple tracks that you'll need to navigate through to survive. Guiding light is again going to be very helpful in this section, and you need to tilt your minecart left or right to choose where you want to go. If you go the wrong direction, you'll be killed by either slamming into a wall at Mach 9 or falling onto stalagmites that are also apparently Seek. There are 2 different types of track rooms that spawn during this chase, 2-way tracks and 3-way tracks. Along with this, there are also 2 different areas of the minecart chase, the grounded tracks and suspended tracks, which look more or less how they sound. The grounded tracks are in these smaller, more confined caves where the tracks are connected to the ground, but with the suspended tracks you'll be in a larger cavern with the tracks suspended above the ground. In grounded track sections, there can only be 2-way track segments, but in suspended track sections, there can be 2 ways and 3 ways. In two ways, you just need to see whether or not to go left or right, again indicated by guiding light and also occasional wooden signs and barriers that appear and point in the correct direction. In three ways, however, you have the choice of going left, right, or straight. When going straight, don't be tilting in any other direction. I know that kind of goes without saying, but it can feel weird to not be touching anything during these parts, and guiding light can kind of look weird when it's not going in a specific direction. Throughout the minecart section, you'll have to deal with these boards and these track segments to navigate properly, which is why getting hit by boards can be really detrimental since it blurs your vision and makes it very hard to see. The only other room types in this chase are some straightaways that don't have intersections, curved track segments, and these large drops. Specifically for the suspended track segments that are drops, wooden boards can still spawn here and will still require you to crouch under them. This can also be combined with having an intersection right at the bottom, forcing you to crouch and then possibly not having enough reaction time to turn your minecart in the correct direction. These boards love to spawn right in front of intersections, which can make it really hard to react in time to which direction you need to go, but what you can do is look past the boards and see which direction you need to go and then hold the minecart tilting in that direction while you crouch below the boards so that you avoid damage and still go the correct direction. In general, you also want to limit your time crouched since it removes your ability to see pretty much anything. Do note that when you tilt your minecart, it grinds against the rails and does actually slow you down, which can allow for Seek to eventually catch up. Items can't be used during the minecart section, so if Seek catches you, which rarely happens, you won't be able to save yourself. Once you make it to door 149, you'll enter a small railway station and the minecart will come to a stop. This will end the Seek chase and guiding light will seal the door behind you, saving you from Seek. By surviving Seek, you'll be awarded the achievement Running Track. After guiding light closes the door, a big metal gate ahead of you will open and your minecart will continue through a large cavern. You'll then hear groaning and see the Queen Grumble emerge from a cave ahead of you and roar at you, forcing you to be diverted onto a different track and into door 150. It's completely impossible to die at this moment and the game will automatically send you down the correct track. After riding down some destroyed track, you'll be thrown out of your minecart and onto the ground. The Queen will then chase you down and you need to run to the room at the end of the area. Once inside, the door will close behind you, sealing you off from the Queen Grumble. You then need to go up and activate this console, which will begin charging and then open all the surrounding doors around you once it's fully charged. Congratulations! You've now reached the most infamous part of the mines, the nest. The nest is an extremely large system of tunnels and rooms being patrolled by grumbles, and you need to activate a certain number of anchors to power the bridge to escape. The nest consists of 4 regular grumbles and the Queen Grumble. Grumbles will patrol the surrounding caves and will attempt to kill intruders that they find, dealing 50 damage when they hit you. Grumbles can be avoided by staying in areas they can't reach or inside of lockers and can also be outran to some extent. Grumbles are the matured versions of Giggles, and just like Giggles, they don't like light, which is another reason why the bulk light is so incredibly helpful for the mines. When shining light on them, they'll squint and move at a slower speed, allowing for you to be able to get away easier. Now, I mentioned specifically that there are 5 Grumbles, and 4 of them are normal, and then there's the Queen. Now, what's the difference between the two? Well, compared to the normal Grumbles, the Queen is faster and doesn't laugh when spotting you. Normally, when a Grumble sees you, it'll begin laughing while moving towards you, but the Queen doesn't do this, which can allow it to sneak up on you extremely quickly without you knowing. The Queen can be identified by the stretch scar on her forehead and the tips of her tentacles being more of a bright pink color. The Queen also can't be banished by the Crucifix, unlike the normal Grumbles, which can be fully dealt with by the Crucifix. Anchor A is the easiest of the anchors to get and always spawns behind this one gate. You need to input the code the terminal gives you to activate the anchor. Once activated, the terminal will move on to the next anchor in the lineup, going from A all the way to D or E. The reason why it can be anchor D or E is because when playing solo, you only need to activate 4 anchors, being anchors A through D, but in multiplayer, you'll need to activate A through E. Anchor B is the next closest anchor and has 3 location spawns. The nest is extremely extensive, but there are a lot of unnecessary areas that it includes that you never even need to go to. For future reference, I'll be referring to the left and right sides of the nest as if you were looking towards the opening that the minecart comes through, like you can see here. On the right side and on the bottom floor, Anchor B only has 1 spawn and is the easiest to get since the path over there has 0 intersections with grumbles and is inside of this small room with the wall missing. You also might notice that when interacting with Anchor B, there's a sticky note on the anchor, with a number between 1 through 6 with either a positive or a negative sign next to it. This number indicates whether or not to add or subtract from your given code. This is when the game tests if you graduated 1st grade math. Let's say the code is 139 and I need to subtract 3. Because there are only 10 digits ranging from 0 to 9, 3 being subtracted from 1 would have it start again from the top and then would equal 8. 3 minus 3 is 0 and 9 minus 3 is 6. So I type in the numbers 806 and get 139. Basically imagine it as a constant loop where instead of reaching 10, it goes back to 0 and starts again, or when reaching 0, it loops back to 9. Now back to navigating to the other 2 Anchor B spawns. The other 2 spawns are on the left side of the nest on the 1st floor. Both B anchors are located in the same tunnel off to the left and right of it in different rooms. This tunnel can be dangerous for a few reasons, being that it's a fairly high traffic area of the nest, consisting of a bunch of different areas that grumbles can appear from. Off to the far right, there's a dead end and a ceiling that allows grumbles to pass to the 1st and 2nd floor. There's also a similar hole a small way down the left side of the tunnel that is considered a spawning shaft. I'll get into exactly what that means in just a minute. Then, further into the tunnel, there's an intersection where grumbles can take a sloped path down to the first floor and back to the second floor, and the tunnel continues down this way, providing our fourth entrance for grumbles. Now, I quickly want to touch on this specific part of the nest, being often referred to as the Death Wish Tunnel. The reason it has this name is for the fact that it's a long, uninterrupted stretch of tunnel with zero hiding spots or objectives that connects the left and right sides of the nest on the first floor. There is no reason to ever go over this way, and is one of the leading causes of death for new players when reaching the nest and not knowing where to navigate. Grumbles use this tunnel to traverse the nest, and like I mentioned, there are no external rooms to hide in or any hiding spots at all. Not to mention that this area features very sloped terrain and is a nightmare to navigate. These are the two locations that they connect between, and you need to know these purely for the fact that you never want to go past these areas. You never even need to go this far virtually for any reason, since like I said, there's no objectives over here. Now the closer B anchor is off here to the right and can be accessed through this tunnel that brings you into this safe room. There are also a few vine walls here, but they aren't necessary to get to the anchor and don't even provide a useful shortcut, so it's just a waste of your shears. The other B anchor is off to the left along this minecart track and then onto this exterior balcony. From this exterior balcony, you can also walk to the left onto this pile of rubble that serves as the one-way path back to the main terminal area. Before entering the balcony, there's also a small lush area with a few vine chests that you can reach. There is a vine wall you can cut from the other side to use as a shortcut, but you can also make your way around and save some of your durability on your shears. Next we have the anchor spawns for C. The first anchor C spawn is on the left side, more or less in between the two B anchors in this room, off to the side on your way back to the balcony anchor. This means if you get good generation, it makes it really fast and easy to get the two B and C anchors in this area. Two of the other anchor spawns are on the right side on the bottom floor of the nest, past one of the possible B anchor spawns. The anchor on this side is accessed through a tunnel on another exterior balcony and cannot be accessed via this tunnel over here, but this can be used as a safe location for grumbles. This is another area, however, where grumbles typically hang around and can often take a while to leave. One thing to mention is that grumbles chase you when they visibly see you, so even if a grumble can't reach you, try to stay out of sight so that they'll leave sooner. But both of these anchors can usually be reached pretty easily without much grumble interference. There is a traversal point between the second and first floor along the typical path you take to reach these anchors, so if you notice a grumble coming out of the ceiling, backtrack into the safe room behind you. Anytime a grumble sees you, move in the opposite direction of it or directly towards the safe room. This map shown on screen is also extremely helpful to be able to tell all the safe locations in the nest. I would consider the biggest part of the nest skill-wise to be navigation, and knowing what areas lead to where, and knowing the safest and fastest paths to each anchor spawn. So, at the end of this segment, I'm going to quickly show a map of every single anchor spawn with the safest path to it, so you can begin to visualize the nest for yourself. The only other C anchor spawn I haven't covered yet is on the second floor, and is completely safe to reach. In the entrances to the left and right sides of the nest, there will be 4 doors, and 2 of them can lead you up to the second floor. Now, these also have a few different ways they can generate, so I'll quickly break this down. On the left side, you can only reach the second floor using the bottom door, but if it's blocked by rocks, you need to go to the right side and to the bottom door. Once you reach the top of that area, you can move across the bridge back to the left side and continue up. The same goes for navigating to the top floor of the right side, but you need to use the top doors instead. Go to the top right door and it will take you up, but again, like the last one, if it's blocked, you can go over to the top door on the left side and cross over the bridge to get to the other side. If you want to go left, use the bottom doors. If you want to go right, use the top doors. To get to the second floor C anchor, you need to find your way up to the left side. Once you reach the second floor up here, you can exit out of this door and the door leading to the C anchor will be right in front of you. Entering through this door does put you in danger if you aren't careful. Grumbles can navigate through this area and put you in danger when doing this anchor. So what you can do is see what codes need to be put in and then put yourself into this corner while completing the anchor. You'll be completely safe while doing this, making this the easiest C anchor spawn to get to. Now, onto the 3 possible D anchor spawns. All of these will spawn on the second floor with the easier 2 spawning on the right side. One of these is completely safe if you have shears and use them to cut the vine wall leading to this anchor, but if you don't have shears, you'll need to navigate around the vine wall to reach this anchor inside of one of the grumble tunnels. This is one of the more difficult anchors to reach in this case since it's around a relatively blind corner and there aren't many places to hide in this tunnel section. When traversing to this anchor, I'd recommend looking through the vine wall first to see if there's a grumble on the other side, and also checking down the left side of the tunnel to see if there's a grumble coming from that side. Then continue down to the anchor and just hope there isn't a grumble down that way, and if there is, you can turn around to get back to safety or quickly slip into the hallway where the anchor is if you're close enough. The other D anchor on this side is the easiest to get, assuming that you don't have the shears. All you need to do is cross this one part of the tunnel to get to the other side and turn left. Then the door will be on your left and you can activate the anchor. I sound like Siri. Make sure you look left and right to not get attacked by a grumble, and also make sure there isn't a grumble appearing out of this vertical tunnel. In the nest, you can find a few of these tunnels leading straight up out of the nest. These tunnels serve as a way for grumbles to give you a bit of downtime and not constantly clog up the nest, which can make traversal harder. Grumbles can randomly choose to climb up one of these tunnel shafts, and when they reach the top, they'll turn around and come back down, which can sometimes happen right as you walk under it. Grumbles deal 50 damage when they hit you and send you flying in whatever direction you got hit from. This can be very disorienting, but it does give you a moment to recover so that you won't instantly die. If a grumble attacks you while you're at lower than 50 health, you'll be bitten in half and killed. The last anchor in this area is on the left side and is the worst anchor in the nest for a few reasons. The first is that it takes longer to traverse than most others and there aren't many safe spots. The second reason is that between this tunnel and this small locker outlet, grumbles can get fully stuck and soft lock your game. By two grumbles showing up at the same time, one of them might go and investigate this locker area while the other attempts to enter the tunnel section. The two grumbles will then get stuck on each other endlessly and you quite literally have to just restart your run by dying to them. I've only ever seen this happen once or twice, so I wouldn't really worry about it, but it's good to know that it can happen and I hope it gets fixed soon. After every anchor is powered, make your way back to the terminal and press the button to lower the bridge. The Queen Grumble will smash through the door behind you and you have to make it across the bridge and into door 151. Note that during this chase in the beginning chase that leads you into the nest, the Queen Grumble isn't actually the queen and is just a stand-in and cannot be crucified and will insta-kill you. A few more tips I have for the nest are to always be aware of your surroundings using any visual and audio cues. 4 out of the 5 grumbles laugh when they see you and grumbles in general are pretty loud with their movement. Avoid putting yourself into situations where grumbles are chasing you and really try to stay away from ever having two chasing you from both sides. You can survive an encounter with this, but it can be very hard to pull off, requiring you to find a perfect middle point between them so that they bounce off of each other without killing you. Now there's also a few changes made during the content update that nerfed the nest and made it easier for navigation. After a while, anchors will have blue outlines and you'll occasionally see them be pinged through walls. I also haven't mentioned the dish on the top of the terminal, which points to each individual anchor directly when they need to become powered. This is another really important part of the nest to be able to show which anchors need to be powered at their location. I'll be showing a map and the position of the dish that matches it to a corresponding anchor. Generally, if it doesn't look safe, don't progress and utilize as many safe areas as you can. Learn to navigate the nest efficiently and use your bulk light to slow grumbles down while also watching for Screech since he can still appear during this area. The nest does also require a lot of practice and feel, so play through it more to understand it better. We're finally done with that. I mean, that wasn't that long, was it? Oh. After door 150, we continue on to the rest of the run down this ladder that more or less marks the beginning of the sewers, which takes up the majority of the latter half of the mines. Opening door 152 is basically guaranteed to spawn Rush, who takes 87 years to actually show up because of all the previous room generation being extremely long, so just wait by hiding spot and be prepared for him to show up. He can appear in front of you, so it doesn't take as long if he does. By progressing through a few more doors, you'll come across a large sewer tunnel that will lead you to Jeff's shop. Inside this tunnel, you can find a guaranteed alarm clock, and to the right of the door leading to Jeff's shop, you can find a vine wall with 2 chests behind it. When you enter Jeff's shop, you'll find the usual crew of Jeff, El Gobino, and Bob. Jeff will always be selling 5 items that will always be the same selection: the bulk light, strap light, flashlight, battery pack, and bandage pack. If you don't have the bulk light, I'd highly recommend grabbing it right now, but if you do have it, I'd recommend getting the bandage pack instead. If you already have the bandage or battery pack and they aren't full, you can refill them by buying the bandage and battery pack from Jeff. The battery pack will give you 2 batteries and the bandage pack will give you 4 bandages. Continuing past Jeff Shop, you'll be dealing with all the same entities from before, but you'll typically be encountering them more with higher spawn chances. Ambush does become a problem since he usually shows up around this time and can be really annoying to deal with. If ambush does spawn, immediately find an in plain sight spot or a location with 2 different hiding spots. Then play ambush as you would in the hotel, timing when you need to hide and getting in and out when ambush is gone. Just remember to swap hiding spots every time and to not get attacked by hide. Nothing else really happens during this part of the mines that I explicitly need to talk about, except for one guaranteed room and one other figure encounter. After leaving Jeff Shop, you have a chance of encountering Figure inside of a generator cave room. Inside of this room, Figure will drop from a pipe and begin searching for you. To escape the room, you need to find 2 fuses hidden inside of drawers and lockers inside of the room. These fuses have been made a lot easier to find since guiding light now emits audio when near the fuses, which used to not happen. You can also use lockpicks to skip some of the fuses. Play around the Figure as normal by crouching and not opening lockers and drawers near him. You also don't need to open any containers that don't emit shimmering since they won't have fuses inside of them. Like last time, you can use glow sticks to distract Figure and just generally steer clear of his path and make no noise to avoid him detecting you. If Figure hears you and starts running towards you, a well-placed glow stick that's thrown behind him can easily distract him and allow you to survive a very bad situation. This room is usually pretty likely to spawn, but it's not guaranteed to. We also have the other guaranteed room that spawns as this large minecart puzzle room. You just need to get the minecart through the room as normal by pushing it through the wooden barriers in your way and changing switches to get it through the next room. I mentioned this room for the fact that it always spawns and can have dupe in it, but the correct door will always be through the same barrier, so you should never get duped while in this room. This room is also a really great in plain sight room since there are many places to hide without entities seeing you. After making it into the 170s, you'll notice Seek Eyes spawning, and eventually you'll open up into this long sewer room. Up above in a giant tunnel is the Queen Grumble waiting to ambush you and will be triggered to come down once reaching the end of the room. When you do reach the end of the room, the Queen will come down and roar at you before Seek bursts through the wall and starts chasing you, starting the second mine Seek chase. The first room of this Seek chase will always be a 4-way room that can only have the correct door spawn on the left or the right and not in front of you. Quickly look left and right to see which door it is, which is indicated by guiding light. There can also be boulders which can make it hard to navigate. Entering the second room will take you into this large tunnel room with 2 tunnels on the left and right, with another door indicated by guiding light. Make sure you choose the correct side since the Queen will appear from out of the opposite tunnel to the correct tunnel and is lethal if you make contact with it. Entering the room will bring you to another 4-way that's the exact same as the original room. Just look left and right to quickly know where you're going. By entering the next room, you'll be in a large sewer room that will lead you to a sewer system. In front of a bunch of these doors will be gates that need to be smashed through to continue. To break open the gates, you need to hit your interact key 3 times to get the door open. Once you enter through the first gate, you'll need to continue through the sewers by following guiding light through this randomly generated sewer. Break open all of the gates and keep following guiding light until you reach the last room and make it out of the exit door. That wraps up the second Seek chase of the mines, and it isn't very hard, but I think it's definitely the best addition from the content update. Now that you've made it to door 200, you'll encounter Seek as he floods the dam with his slime and begins to create entities from inside of it. Once Seek fully floods the dam, you'll also gain the ability to jump. This will be used to parkour across the dam to reach the valves. The dam is separated into 3 phases, with each requiring a different amount of valves and introducing a new entity with each phase. During phase 1, you have to activate 2 valves to progress to the next phase. One of these valves is a freebie and is safe to activate. The other one is placed across the dam, which requires you to jump across the debris floating in Seek slime to reach it and activate it. During this phase, you can only encounter Seek hands, which will rise up from the slime and follow you throughout the dam. They can also slam down onto you and deal you 20 damage, which will also send you flying in the direction that they hit you. They display a red glow in front of them indicating where they'll slam down and also wind up briefly before slamming so you can avoid them. When they begin their slam animation, they'll lock into place facing one direction, which can make them easy to bait by just moving once the animation starts. Now the worst part of the dam is easily the fact that touching the slime will begin to instantly deal damage to you. 5 damage will be dealt per tick and you'll also begin to suffocate. You can attempt to get back onto floating objects to save yourself, but this can be extremely difficult to perform, with the jumping making it really hard to get back up. Some of the objects will also be these rounded pipes and can be especially hard to get up onto. I recommend not just spamming your jump button, but instead backing up slightly before jumping and moving forward. This gives you a little bit more momentum to try to push yourself back up and onto debris. Try avoid falling into Seek slime as much as you possibly can, since your survival rate is much higher by staying out of his slime. For this first phase, the objects are really close together and don't really require any precision to land on, so watch for any hands and quickly make it to the other side. Once you activate the next valve, Seek slime will lower and begin the drain, revealing a new section for you to be able to traverse. Now, for phase 2, we have a new entity and a total of 4 valves to activate. You'll be spawned in at the top of these stairs and can immediately jump down and activate this freebie valve. From there, there's a valve to your right and then 2 more across the dam to your left. We also introduced the entity Sludge, which will spawn throughout the dam and slowly move towards you and be clawing at you. If it reaches you, it will pull you down and instantly kill you. Even though this has an insta-kill ability, it moves extremely slow and can be avoided pretty easily. The hardest part of the dam is trying not to fall into Seek slime, and Sludge doesn't really affect that a whole lot. What does affect that is the way Seek slime moves up and down like an ocean tide. Seek slime noticeably moves up and down, and this can be an issue in making a jump onto one of the sides of the dam because you don't have enough vertical height to make it up. So simply put, when about to make a jump onto a higher surface, make sure the level of slime in the dam is high enough that you can jump without falling in. Generally, speed is key when inside the dam since all of the enemies can't reach you if you're moving fast enough. Be precise with your jumps, aware of your surroundings, and be fast enough to keep away from the hands and sludge. At each of the locations of valves, you are safe as long as you don't let the arms reach you, so a lot of the dam can consist of waiting for a good opportunity to begin parkouring across. Especially be careful of those really small objects like crates or those pipes like I mentioned before, since you can slip off of them pretty easily and have trouble getting back on. Once completing Phase 2, you'll move on to the final phase, Phase 3. Phase 3 introduces another new entity and 5 total valves you need to turn in order to completely drain Damseek and defeat him. The new entity introduced is the Seek Worm. It will begin emerging from the slime and set a location where it will land, which is indicated by another red glow. The worm will then emerge from the slime fully and launch into the air and come down on the marked location, killing anyone inside of the range. Phase 3 does include all 3 of these entities and may seem the hardest, but 80% of it can be done without even pressing the jump key. The way that the valves are oriented allows you to get 4 out of the 5 of them completely safe by using the stairs and ladders to navigate. The last valve is located all the way to one side of the dam and forces you to jump across to it. I'd recommend waiting for an opening where there is no sludge nearby and when a Seek Worm won't get in your way. Remember that speed is incredibly important to avoiding the Seek entities, and a lot of the dam is also practice to become good at navigating across it. The mines in general are pretty difficult, and the more attempts you make, the better you'll be at completing it. When traversing, watch for Seek arms to not get knocked into the slime, move out of the way of the worm coming down into the dam, and path around sludge if necessary. Sludge has a pretty small hitbox and it is never usually a problem. You can usually just jump around him and run right past. When moving across the dam, if the worm is about to land in front of you, you need to wait for it to land before you can keep going. If another entity is behind you, avoid it as much as you can, and once the worm is landed back into the dam, make a break for it and keep going. The last valve is also probably the biggest culprit in missing the jump because of Seek slime being too low. The amount of times I've jumped and eaten straight concrete before disintegrating alive is painful. After you activate every valve, the dam will drain Seek away, allowing you to power the generator at the bottom. Once this generator is powered, make your way to the top and over to the gate and press the button to open the gate. While climbing out using the ladder, you'll hear the track Fresh Rain playing and will climb out into a rainy forest. You'll see the rifts along the path behind you, and by continuing along the path in the opposite direction, you'll come across a large castle on the other side of a small bridge. By walking up to the castle doors, you can hold your interact key on them, which will trigger the ending cutscene where the Queen Grumble will burst from the ground behind us before one of Seek's arms raises up and attacks it, infecting it with his slime. Seek then rises out of the Queen and stares into the castle as the doors close behind us, ending the mines and awarding us the achievement, See You Soon. And that's the mines. I hope this guide helped you out and that you enjoyed this video. It ended up being much longer than I expected, but I did have a lot to cover since this is the entirety of the mines. If you have any specific questions about things I may not have covered in the mines, comment them below and I'll be sure to respond to all of them. You also probably noticed my voice sounded a bit different in this video, and it's because my friend lent me their mic so I no longer sound like I'm being deep fried inside of a toaster. Thank you all for waiting for this video since I know it took me like quickly kind of interrupting the end of my own video because I realized I kind of have a lot to cover and I decided that this was the best place to do that. This guide was supposed to come out a while ago, to say the least. It has been like 4 months since my rooms guide came out, and I basically started working on the script for this video basically right after that video was fully edited and uploaded. So this video has been a long time in the making. There is a reason for that. If you saw my community post, I was away for a while at a summer camp and working every single day, and I didn't have a ton of time that I wanted to use for editing, and so I didn't really get any work done and have basically resumed editing since getting home just a few weeks ago. It's August 21st right now, so I don't know when the Mines Guide should be coming out, but it should be coming out either tomorrow on Friday or on Saturday. That is my goal. I hope that I don't delay this any longer than it needs to be, because I know you guys have been waiting patiently for this for a very long time, and I really appreciate that. And along with that, I also wanted to thank you guys for 1 million channel views and also 3,000 subscribers. You guys have been going crazy on my 60 Things You Didn't Know Indoors video, my guide for the figure, my AI guide for the figure. That video has been doing super well, and just like, I cannot express how much I appreciate you guys for sticking around even though I literally disappeared for like 3 months. And so I really appreciate you guys being able to kind of stick around and really waiting for this video to come out. I know a lot of you guys have asked. I still see comments about people asking about the nest and a lot of stuff like that. And so that's kind of what this guide is covered and aimed to cover. And it kind of got a little jumbled while editing this because The garden update, not the garden, the outdoors, the outdoors update, the great outdoors update came out on August 10th, just 11 days ago, and they added a lot of stuff to the mines, things like the multi-tool item, the crucifix being sold at Jeff's shop, and kind of just changed some stuff around that kind of like immediately outdated the current video. So that's why there's a lot of kind of little text edits where it's just like text on the screen that says like this might not be true anymore, or like this room isn't guaranteed to spawn anymore even though it used to be, things like that, because it was too much for me to be able to go back and completely rework most of the video, since I already had all of the audio recorded and all of the footage, and a lot of the video was like fully complete. Like I had certain sections of it that were finished, and so I didn't really want to go in there and fix some of them. There is a lot of kind of little edits here and there, but again, I just really want to thank you guys for sticking with me even though I literally disappeared, and I do have other videos in the works that will be coming hopefully a lot sooner than this one. So thank you guys again for sticking around, for hitting these milestones, and for kind of just sticking with me even though I was not sticking with you guys as much. There will be more videos hopefully soon in a quicker time frame. I am starting school again, so that is obviously going to take first priority compared to videos, but I still want to keep doing this. Try not to do videos that are quite as long or require as much editing, or find ways to kind of edit more efficiently. I don't want to degrade the quality for the quantity of videos, or to make the videos shorter, that way I can edit them faster. But either way, I'll kind of work some stuff out, and I'll keep you guys updated on it. But until then, I'll see you soon.